everybody, and welcome to the Talkcast Podshow, the #1 show on the internet, and the answer to all your burning questions. I'm Lani Pator, and I'm joined this week by the funny one.
Thank you.
Somebody had to answer for it.
I'm giving him that. I'm not taking that. No.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself then.
Hi, I'm Kaiser Frerichs. How's everybody? How's your day? It's a Wednesday, so I'm gonna guess not great, but
Meh.
By the way, I didn't ask before we started. Are we on Twitch?
Yeah.
we're on Twitch.
Yeah, we're live. We're live.
What do you think we were doing?
I needed to get a link so I can link it on my Twitter, so all the people on Twitter will be like, "Yay, it's Taka. I like him."
When's the
I
last
did
time?
this ahead of time.
Scott will be there. They'll be like, "Oh, okay, but we'll still show up."
You know what's weird about all this? I feel like this is like the first time in, God, probably I don't even know how long that we have talked to each other for 2 days in a row. In fact, the last time I think we did that was at a convention, which is appropriate because today is essentially like we're doing a panel here because we're doing a full-on Q&A.
Yeah, just like a panel.
I've curated a bunch of questions from a few different sources so that we can answer some of everybody's burning questions that they might have toward us, and we might curate a couple from the chat as well for those that show up live. We record these on Wednesdays, 3 o'clock Central Time usually, so feel free to join in if you're listening at home.
I felt bad.
With that,
I always used to be Mr. West Coast, Best Coast, East Coast, Least Coast, but now that I'm stuck in the Central, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this. Central.
Oh.
I guess we're the center of everything. I guess that's kind of cool. Fuck it, I don't care. I don't have the questions.
I mean, we're not even really the center of everything. I think we're like GMT -6 or whatever the fuck. I don't know how that shit works.
Bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It is. Everybody should just focus on America time now and do what fucking Arizona did and do away with daylight savings.
I wish. Jesus, there's no point. There's no point anymore.
There's absolutely no point.
It's
it was
actually
for farmers
unhealthy.
in like the 1800s. I hate it.
Yep.
I hate it. I won't have to deal with it for like another few months. But when it does happen, I hate it. I mean, even though we're going towards the good one, the one where you get that extra hour of sleep.
Oh yeah. You know what? That's what I dedicate my life to. That one moment where suddenly it's 1 a.m. again, and I'm like, oh my god. I get another hour of Final Fantasy VII Remake on hard mode.
Oh,
Nah,
man.
not at that point. At that point, you'll be getting another hour of Cyberpunk 2077.
We cannot talk about Final Fantasy VII. We cannot talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake without addressing the biggest thing. Donkey didn't like it.
Yeah, Donkey didn't like it.
Donkey didn't
Does
like
that
it.
surprise you? Really?
No,
He
I-
hates mostly
No,
JRPGs.
he doesn't like JRPGs. So it's like,
Yeah,
I was like,
I think Persona 5 is like the one standout for him.
Although it's not a JRPG.
Persona 5?
No. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, it's
Final
a JRPG.
Fantasy 7 is still like very. It's anime out the ass though, even if it's an action
it's
game.
super anime.
Scott,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why it is a JRPG.
Okay, that part he's right about. That wholeheartedly. The excerpts in that game, just like in Final Fantasy 15. The Final Fantasy 15 had the worst one though. Whenever fucking Noctis was pumping gas, when he'd ever lift it up, he'd go like. My husband.
Which really sucks because you can't blame the actor for that shit because like it's in the script. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Originally it's like for anime you just got to do that because they make a sound in the anime, but I feel like in a video game, why did they have to make that sound in the video game?
Part of it is to kind of help sell the experience of like, oh, these are living people moving through the environment.
Not
so
a
we're giving
human
them some
being I've
reactions.
ever met makes sounds like that. Not a
it's
single living.
I should point out that it's actually more common in Japanese culture to have more assertive expressions. In fact, part of having a conversation over the phone, and I shit you not, is when another person is talking to confirm that you're still listening and engaging. You go,
Okay, so the thing about that is you should just do it like in a Twitter DM and just slap a heart on them, so you know you're still paying attention.
So
Okay, so are we saying that anime sounds are verbal emoticons?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Actually, yes.
Anime sounds are verbal emoticons, and the thing is, a lot of anime characters really abuse emoticons. I watched
That's
a
fair.
single.
They're
I watched a
that
single cut.
texture.
I watched a single cutscene with Cloud, and he did that with no problem. Like just, I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is that?
Yeah.
You're holding
like,
down a bird.
I still like while they're noticeable in the game, it's still less egregious than Kingdom Hearts in
Yeah.
my mind. They were everywhere.
I'll be honest with you, Nick. They're made by the same company, and as a matter
I
of
know
fact,
they
got
are.
the same
I
combat
know
system.
the same director. No, the combat system in 7 is actually way better in my opinion.
No, it's not. It's a different video game entirely from the original. I'm an old man. Get off my lawn.
I was going to say this though. Donkey's video is like weird. Where first of all, he got the Mako thing wrong. He says Mako. He doesn't say Mana. And second, he hates Jesse.
There's some weird sounds in that scene. I could see how he could mishear it.
Also, he hates Jesse, so he can die.
He is wrong about hating Jesse, I'll say that much, but I think he's also just, I mean, it's his opinion. He doesn't like super anime characters, and he's right. They fleshed out Jesse a lot more in this game, and I could see how some people might not find her endearing.
She's super anime now too.
Yeah.
She's super anime.
She's kind of anime.
She's anime
actually
AF.
She, funny enough,
She's girl next. She's got like a fiery tomboy girl next door vibes, and it's
and
like,
I love her.
I know that, but not everyone likes anime, Scott.
I know, and they're wrong.
He was right why they did what they did with her, though.
To pat the game out?
Well, A, to pad the game out, and B, to give you some emotional resonance with a character before the inevitable.
Before the inevitable.
Either way, we won't go into too many spoilers on that.
Oh, the fact that the game's been out since 1994 or whatever year it came out.
That being said, Taka, have you played the remake?
No, I'm not gonna play the remake. I hate character action games.
They change shit.
Oh man,
they change shit.
Keep justifying why I stopped playing it. Why I didn't play it. Sorry. I'm gonna be an old man about this. I'm gonna get so much grief on my Twitter for this, but I just.
You might. It's a legitimately good game, but just because you don't like.
Everyone looks sexy. Everyone looks so goddamn sexy. That is a sexy-ass video game.
Okay, yes, they look significantly more sexy than when they were a bunch of cones.
There was a series of shapes. There was a series of shapes, Nick.
I'm sorry, but every time
I recognize cones.
Every time any of the characters, any of the girls are center frame in that first person perspective, my heart skips a beat. They're gorgeous. They're amazing. And I love all of them. And they're beautiful. And anyway, Q&A portion, let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, either way. Gonna start off with Osri Vep, who asks, how's your day been? I know you asked this earlier, Kaiser, but I ignored it so I can go to this.
My day, I've been editing some Let's Play stuff and JoJo Part 2 in 11 minutes? Yeah, 11
Question mark?
minutes.
Still going?
Yeah, it was originally 12 and a half. I cut some stuff.
Oh, you cut some stuff?
Yeah.
Better not have been my stuff.
Nope.
I forgot to send you my stuff, didn't I?
I never asked you for stuff.
Yeah, you did. You sent me that big message, Kurt, give me the stuff. And I was like, sure, I'll get on that. And then I didn't.
Give him the loads!
Give me the loads!
I know about the loads, Scott.
Oh yeah, some people in the chat have actually heard a little bit of what Joseph sounds like, I should point out.
Oh, nice. Good. I am very excited. I am super excited. After you showed me that one clip, I'm like, because I was like questioning it as I was delivering it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go full ham on this. For those wondering, I kind of channel Bill Burr a bit.
Oh, good.
With my deliveries.
Good.
Yeah.
And I think when I finally saw it, I'm like, oh, good. It came out well. Thank God.
I had a lot of fun animating a very certain segment that's gonna make people. There's gonna be some people who are still feeling a little bit sore about Caesar's death. Either laugh in a dark way or be very angry.
I do find it funny. If you're basing it off of Bill Burr, that's funny because Joseph's from New York, right?
Well, here's the thing.
He's technically from England, but it's like he starts off in New York.
Yeah, the funny thing was, I don't want to spoil it too much, but a part of it was legitimately me starting from the place of New York, and I'm like, what if he had a New York accent? And then I was like, nope, I can't get out of my head. And I asked JoJo fans, hey JoJo fans, are you gonna be upset if I give him a New York accent? And they're like, is it funnier than giving him a bad British accent? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, do it.
So you take my bad New York accent instead of my bad Brooklyn, or instead of my bad English accent, and we're good.
Yeah, you kind of go somewhere between the Bronx and
Bill Burr's from Boston, though.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was about to say I'm kind of in between Brooklyn and Boston in my accent. It shifts. It's very American Northeast.
Brewstan.
You actually, you don't sound so Brooklyn. You sound more Boston. And you know what? That's what I wanted. I wanted more Boston. Because guess what? Anybody outside of the Northeast...
It's a more obnoxious accent.
It is. And anyone outside of the Northeast does not know the difference.
It's kind of like if you do, like you say, like, hey, do an English accent. Which one? They're like 40.
Hey, come on out. I'm having a good day.
Nice. I
Scott,
don't even know what he was going for that.
That's the Queen's English.
Queen's English, is?
Yeah, she's
Queen's English. Can you imagine her just speaking like that in the palace?
I'm sorry, but that's... I'm pretty sure that's how her vagina sounds.
Oh, no. Taka, how was your day? Mine just got worse after hearing that.
Dude, I actually made a mistake this week. On Monday, I forgot to tweet out that I'm 54 weeks sober.
Ooh, nice. Congratulations, man.
Yes, congratulations. Seriously, we're all very proud of you. And I go, wow, that sounds sarcastic. It's not.
Wow, it's not.
I don't mean for it to sound sarcastic. I'm actually very, very... I can't stop.
Stop nodding and clapping with your hands right in front of your face, Scott. It's really hurting.
Congratulations.
Oh,
congratulations.
You gotta throw verbal emoticons in there.
Okay, but yeah, no, it's 54 weeks. It's been good. And it's okay. When it comes to you, it's okay because you saw me at my worst sometimes. So there you go. So it's
being
good.
Being a punk ass bitch, yeah.
Yeah, you fucking don't get out of your glass house, Scott. You're gonna die.
Speaking...
I'll take you up down with me.
But this week's been okay. Just some adjustment because I'm actually up north with my family. So now I'm spending this trying time with my family close by here. So I've converted over my mother's office is now my office. So yeah. Aside from that, I've just been actually getting some more time into Animal Crossing. First time I've ever put this much time into an Animal Crossing game.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How you enjoying it?
I'm doing okay. There's one glaring error with the game, in my opinion. The iron rates are too low.
Really?
Yeah, iron's too.
Because you don't need a whole lot of iron for most things.
You need 30 for the shop.
Yeah, but that's not a whole lot. I mean, you can probably get that by hitting all of the rocks in a day.
No, you have to like crush a rock.
No, you don't want to crush rocks because crushing rocks means you don't get them back.
You only get shit. They respawn the next day.
Rocks respawn after days?
Yes. I do.
Bracky's having a fucking panic attack in the chat.
Everybody's letting you know that you're doing it wrong.
I have chipped away at rocks countless times, and they have never shown a piece of iron once. It has always been clay or rock or money for whatever God's
You're getting
reason.
clay? My God, clay is rare for me.
Oh, it is? I throw it out.
I think the issue might not be with the game.
No, it's clearly the game. It's clearly the game.
You grab a shovel, you dig 2 holes behind yourself so that the shovel can't push you away when you're hitting the rock, and then you hit the rock with the shovel as many times as you can in 10 seconds to get as many things as you can. That's how you mine.
They don't apparently. Well, that is
Yeah, they don't tell you that, but that's the best way to do it.
I'm sweating.
We've learned something today. Kaiser's using a lot of his verbal emoticons. This is the Raffle one, the tears in the eyes with the open D mouth.
Please move on to the next question, I beg you.
Sure. Speaking of trying times, when you run out of rocks on your island, what is your favorite comfort food to turn to, either to make or to order?
Ooh,
this one is from Carl Gouldner over on Patreon.
Mine's simple. Mine's quick. Chips and salsa, baby. All about them
chips
tortilla chips and salsa, man. It's my favorite. It's my favorite treat to me.
Salty, sweet, bit of spicy.
You know what? I trying to back down off the salt. I actually got a bunch of pico de gallo.
Yeah, but the chips pico de gallo.
Pico de gallo.
Hey,
that's close.
What the fuck did you just say?
Pico da Chew. I don't know, man. I think
it's you still get some salt on the chips though.
Boku no Pico de Gallo. Did I get it right?
Pico de Gallo.
Boku no Pico de Gallo is
it's a very different salsa. Might be a little unripe.
Okay, so my favorite is actually just pizza. And I know that's like a very boring answer, but man, there's nothing like ordering a pepperoni pizza and having a Shiner Bock, which is a Texan lager, and just kicking back and fucking, Actually, there's a fucking Chicago pizza place near here. Christopher likes it, and that's saying a lot. Christopher
Chicago pizza place around here.
Yes.
What's it called?
Taste of Chicago.
You know, that's fair.
It was really fucking good, and oh man. Are you not afraid of a delivery man to bring the thing?
No.
No.
Wipe it down.
Yeah,
I
always
just
spray
my pizza with Clorox. There you go.
Yeah, I spray the pizza
Do
with
what the
Lysol.
president says and consume your Clorox.
Let's not get this political, guys, because apparently
I'm
injecting
not. I'm
Clorox
just
is
making a
political
joke.
now. No, I'm joking. So you know what I did? Here's what I did, because when I where I was staying, where my actual apartment is a very nerve-wracking place. So I was nervous to order pizza, but I needed pizza because I was out of next to all food in my apartment. That weren't just pure starches. So I'm like, I need vegetables. Fuck it. I ordered a vegetarian pizza. So they delivered it, right? And I felt bad. And I felt weird. So I sliced off the top of the box with scissors. And I slid it into my oven. And I cooked it for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, well, now everything on it is cooked. It was at 400 degrees.
And it's extra crispy. So.
Exactly. So there you go. And that's what I did. I'm like, there. Now no matter what, this is safe. And I ate it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just, if you don't trust other people, you got to trust yourself.
My go-to food to make as a comfort food has always been chili.
Yeah.
It is something that I find very cathartic to prepare.
I fucking love your chili.
Thank you. It's never the same anytime I make it.
I've never had your chili, Nick.
Well, next time you're down, we can make.
You're gonna have
together.
to chill out with us
in 3 years. It's fucking.
I mean, you can. I'm not gonna tell you when you can get into a metal tube full of people.
I was insulted. Fucking American Airlines had the nerve to send me an update on a flight I ended up canceling a week ago. I'm like, fuck you cocks.
It's weird to me that people are still flying.
I didn't even know you could.
Yeah, you can't. Dude, I saw a picture the other day of a flight to New York City filled with everyone not wearing a mask. And I just saw that, and I had a panic attack. I was like... What?
Yep.
I mean, some people are out there, like, purposely trying to get the disease just so they don't have to quarantine themselves later. So that they can just be like, I had it, and I'm done.
On one hand, like, okay, so you want to fucking chickenpox party it. On the other hand, it takes like 10 to 14 days to show whether or not you have it, and in the meantime, you can spread it to a bunch of other people.
Okay. I know, it's really shitty. It's why I haven't personally gone about that. That being said,
it's killing healthy people in their 30s. Yeah. I am not a healthy person. I will die.
I take my vitamins, brother Jack, but I still don't want to get it.
You don't say your prayers though, Nick.
It depends on what day it is.
That's true. Next question. Do we have another question, Nick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. From Twitter at JM007890 asks, "What's your favorite horror movie? / what horror movie would you recommend somebody see?"
Okay, can I please? I love horror movies, so can I say my piece?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, yeah.
I chose this because I knew you'd have
There's
opinions.
different levels of horror. There's gore horror. I'm not a personal fan of gore horror, so if I know that I am completely ignoring a partial horror genre, which is a legitimate genre, but that's not my fan. I'm not a fan of it, so I'm not going to speak to it. I think The Conjuring is a fantastic movie that came out a couple of years ago. I think it's really well done because it covers.
Try like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah, 7 years ago. But one of the reasons why I love that movie is it solves one of my biggest problems with horror movies. It lays out and has a camera follow around a family member so you know the full layout of the house.
It was a really cool oneer. I like that shot.
That shot.
James
was great
Wan's really good.
Because now I know where everything is in conjunction to everything else. It was really scary in the first half. Second half becomes a bit more theatrical. That's fine. First half scares. Every single scare hits like a ton of it hits every time, and that clap bit in the middle is beautiful. One of the best things I've ever seen.
It launched an entire cinematic universe.
Yep, it did, and the best was still the first one. And
yep.
As well, I will say that the remake, the first one, is good. It's theatrical. It's over the top. They use sound stingers to get you sometimes too, but it's still a fantastic watch with fantastic performances, and you care about the kids, and they do a good job with that too, because I think it's a good movie regardless of being a horror movie. And the last one,
good child actors are a hard thing to get. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to suggest, because Hereditary is on the list too, but that's a bit different.
Hey, hold out.
Yeah. I figured you were going to get to that one.
Finish your thoughts.
And The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. It is such a good movie.
I feel like that's just one of those classics that if you like horror, you gotta see it. You gotta see.
It's paranoia of other people, and that's what makes it so terrifying.
The Thing is like classic horror. It's great. I'd have to go by genre if I had to make recommendations. My favorite horror movie, and one of my favorite movies of all time is Evil Dead 2.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's a perfect mixture of slapstick comedy, really good special effects for its time, fun cinematography. It's great. I absolutely love Evil Dead 2. As for movies that I'd have to recommend, one of them would have to, like, I'll agree with you and say The Thing, but another John Carpenter masterpiece, Halloween. Halloween is one of my favorite slasher movies.
I've never seen it.
It is not necessarily like the first slasher movie. I think that goes to Black Christmas, or something of that regard.
Halloween created the slasher genre, though. It created that.
It launched it, basically. But as for... There's one recent director who I have absolutely fallen in love with his work, Ari Aster. And Hereditary, I think, is probably his best movie.
Yes, Hereditary is the best.
I need to see Hereditary. I really do.
It is streaming on Amazon. You can watch it right now after this if you wanted.
So good. The Midsommar after it is not as good, and I think a lot of people...
I still really liked it, though.
Midsommar was interesting, but the problem was there was a plot of that movie they took out, and they had half the scenes there. My biggest beef was everyone was like cheering for the girl in the end. I'm like, no, this cult manipulated all of them.
Don't spoil the movie.
Anyway, sorry. I take that one seriously.
Yeah, don't spoil the movie for anybody, but it's not even necessarily about the cult. It isn't. It's a movie about a breakup.
It kind of. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. It is
it's about a lot of things in my opinion, but okay.
By the way, so my favorite. This one's gonna sound weird. If I had to go with my favorite horror movie, I'd go with Pan's Labyrinth.
Interesting.
That's
not a conventional horror movie, but Guillermo del Toro. It was one I really enjoyed.
It is 100% a horror film, though. Like when you watch it, it is terrifying and such great I want to say special effects work. Yeah, it's special effects.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really look at Guillermo del Toro's stuff as like horror movies specifically. I could see why this would be. I almost look at all of his things like macabre little fairy tales.
Dark fantasy, yeah.
Dark fantasy. Yeah.
But on the other hand, though, so while Pan's Labyrinth is absolutely my favorite, the one that affected me the most, and this one's going to be the surprising one, I think, the horror movie that actually affected me more than any other horror movie was Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
It did launch a genre too itself.
Yeah, and part of it was because when I was young, there's a certain aesthetic to the found footage genre that truly captures that feeling of what you're seeing, if you're uninitiated, comes off blatantly realistic to you because there's none of the the shine, the polish, there's no cinematic flair. What you see is what you get, and when I watched that, it freaked me the fuck out.
It was really a one-of-a-kind movie, and it just completely shocked people because we're just gonna film some guys in the woods and make that a movie, and they're to treat it like it was real. It was, and that was what was so neat about it because you didn't quite understand it at that point. There was no internet. The internet was just coming out at that point, so people weren't able to just blow open the door on it either. You had to go see it to believe it, right?
Yeah.
I'll say the only other movie that really to even remotely touch on that energy, and they only did it once in my opinion, even though I like a couple of them, Paranormal Activity, but that was
Same.
That was that was the only one that ever even remotely got close to touching the same thing the first original Blair Witch Project did.
I was gonna say, yeah, like with that whole idea of like what you see is what you get. I think the first Paranormal Activity like did that really well. I liked the first one a lot. I thought 2 was okay.
Yeah,
I enjoyed 3.
3 was good.
The rest of them were kind of meh.
The rest of them were
I've heard
trash.
things about 3. Yeah.
The marked ones is actually surprisingly entertaining because it plays itself out like a superhero origin story.
I didn't watch it. Is that actually what it's played out to be?
The dude thinks he has superpowers because the demon is like watching over him and protecting him, but then shit starts going bad really quickly in the middle of the movie.
That's a fun premise and shouldn't be in the Paranormal Activity movie. It should just be its own movie.
It's why it was a spin-off, but it was like hysterical. Like I really enjoyed watching that in theaters. It was way better than like 4 and 5 and whatever the Ghost Dimension was.
I watched the Ghost Dimension. I watched it.
Also, Get Out.
No, okay.
We just got here. We just started.
That's a comedy movie.
Okay, if we're going to talk about Jordan Peele, Get Out, obviously a fantastic. I would put that more on the realms of psychological horror or psychological thriller than I would a horror movie.
It's a thriller movie. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not scary.
I mean, there's the argument for that, but
I mean, it's kind of a cross genre. It's like, where do you put 7? 7 is also like fairly horrific. But of Jordan Peele's movies, did you also like Us as well as Get Out?
I feel like Us could have been a little bit clearer with its message. Its message, once you put it under a microscope, makes sense. But for the average audience, Get Out made a lot more sense than Us did. And so for Us, while it had a lot of great lines, great acting, great cast, great visuals, the actual message of it gets a little bit muddied. And while I obviously don't want to hold artists to the fucking fire and say, hey, make sure I understand everything in your movie the first time I watch it, I do think that kind of contributed to the general lack of positive it still has a 93% on fucking Rotten Tomatoes, so it's still got a positive response.
But people don't talk about it all the time like they still do.
With Get Out.
I think Get Out was better. Yeah,
I personally think Get Out was better.
And someone said it in the chat, and I'll say this.
Yeah, Lupita knocked it out of the goddamn park.
Lupita deserved an Oscar for that. She legitimately played 2 completely separate characters.
So did the chick from Hereditary. But, you get into a horror movie and all of a sudden that's not an Academy thing.
I've never seen grief so believable in a movie screen. It was crazy. But Lupita Nyong'o, I believe her name is, she crushed it in that regard, especially in Us. It loses everything the second they leave their house. Like the whole movie falls apart.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I don't know about whole thing falls apart.
When they're by the lake and everything, and the other family gets like, okay, I don't want to spoil too much movie. It's with the movie. It's just.
I love that part. That's my favorite part.
Oh, dude, that was not playing. Fuck the police.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think it's scary. I think it's a thriller.
Well. That's the thing about Jordan Peele and why I really like him as a filmmaker. He will make that mix of horror and dread and mix in comedy perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh. It's good. Yeah. No, that's why here's his next movie. I'm going to go watch it. Day 1. Wait, no, if we can.
Hey, it'll just come out on fucking streaming.
Yeah, you'll be able to stream it straight away.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Next question.
Yeah, sure. I will move on. So, Luke Rizik from Patreon asked, for situations like the one we're in now where there's lots of time to kill, do you guys prefer to spend it on many shorter experiences or one long one, like a bunch of indie games or one long JRPG, or several one-session shows versus an entire shonen series? So do you like binging, like...
Well, I've been playing a lot of...
Sorry, Scott, go on.
Oh, I've been playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm going through the second time on hard mode, but I've also been binging a lot of stuff. I actually just started The Midnight Gospel, which, holy fucking shit!
I was thinking about starting that after I'm done binging the current thing I'm binging, excuse me.
I highly recommend not doing it sober.
Well, gonna need some help there, I think. Either way.
It is a phenomenal experience. Weird and definitely avant-garde and definitely experimental, but god damn.
I'm not okay. That's the review.
Yeah, I love the Midnight Gospel. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake. I've also been watching through a couple of other anime, like How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, but yeah, I guess I've been doing like one major long form thing, and then a bunch of other smaller things sprinkled in throughout.
That's fair enough. Taka, you were.
I'm a binger. I've been rewatching South Park. I've been rewatching South Park from episode 1 on, and I binged The Simpsons, and now I'm binging South Park. I'm binging the shows of my past to see how much they stand up now. And, like, with The Simpsons, there was a natural drop off on quality. With South Park, it's so strange because it's an episode by episode basis. You got to take it by. Because some of them have aged incredibly. Some of them are so effing funny, but then some of them are so upsetting I skip them because they actually anger me a little bit. Because that's the thing with their style of
Which
comedy.
one? Let's press on that. What's one that you had to skip because it angered you?
Bloody Mary. I did not like that one because it's the one where it does have one of my favorite jokes in the show though. What seems to be the officer problem?
Oh yeah, drunk Randy.
Drunk Randy's always hilarious, but it's about how Randy's told alcoholism is a disease, and he's like, "Oh, I can't get out of the chair. It's a disease." And I liked it, but I think I really wish they kind of more made note of like, okay, it's not necessarily that it's a disease to be an alcoholic. It's that being an addict is a disease, and alcohol is one of the easiest things to get your hands on.
We don't.
I can see why that would upset you.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with language because we as a culture give a lot of importance to certain words and how we communicate. And when we've said disease for so long, there are a lot of people that don't quite understand that mental health and mental health problems can, constitute as diseases.
It came across very ignorant from their perspective. And it was an earlier season one, too, in the first half of their series, which was interesting.
Which makes sense, given the time frame and...
Yeah, which is why some of them have aged really poorly. Some of the ones are still hilarious, like Super Fun Time. I fucking can't stop laughing at that episode. That's the one where they go to the old-timey town and they refuse to break character, no matter what, including having guns pointed at them by terrorists, and they refuse to break character. To the point where they get shot. But yeah, no, I like more than I dislike. It's weird because I'm seeing Cartman, like, now that I'm older, I'm seeing him in like a bingeable way, and I'm seeing the descent into depravity that character takes. And when Cartman gets shit on, I think my favorite episode of the series is where Wendy beats the crap out of Cartman. I can watch Cartman getting his ass beat by Wendy all day. It is so satisfying to see his face getting shoved into the monkey bars and just smashed over and over and over again. I'm just like, yep, take it, you bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally getting his comeuppance.
He usually gets his comeuppance. They've been good in the early seasons. They were good about him getting his comeuppance. They really were. Like the one where he's all happy, he's getting his tonsils out and he gets AIDS. Like this show, I don't know how they make these difficult subjects. Oh man, it's weird. It's been
South
weird.
Park.
It's been weird watching it.
South Park has its own rules.
It really is weird watching it.
I actually ended up rewatching all through the entirety, and this is going to be a weird one. On my off time, while editing visual stuff, I would put on American Dad.
Oh,
it doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of show that you can easily have on in the background.
American Dad is better than Family Guy, and I'll fucking fight anybody on that.
I probably wouldn't argue, honestly. Like, I've seen probably about as many episodes as each, and I think I've enjoyed American Dad a bit more. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, neither of which I think I would sit down and watch for a prolonged period of time. As for me, I also binge, but I've been using my time to try to watch things that I haven't seen yet. Like, I just recently finally got around to starting to watch Community.
Oh, hell yeah!
I'm really sad that I hadn't done so earlier because I fucking love it.
Oh yeah, Community is so fucking good!
First 3 seasons are hype, man.
I'm still, I think I'm coming up near the end of season 2.
Very good.
Yeah, I literally just watched the 6 seasons in a movie episode, the clip show.
It's good. It is really, the first 3 seasons I think are it's such a, oh god, I don't want to say it's a sitcom. I don't even know. It's just a good comedy. It's a good series with a fun. Having it be in the community college was brilliant. It was such a brilliant premise. That was such a brilliant idea. Put him in community college. Have a bunch of old people. Leonard.
It's like if you took Always Sunny in Philadelphia and cleaned it up, like set it in a cleaner place.
Oh yeah.
Like it's a less dirty, grungy Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because all of the characters are kind of like selfish and not great, except for Abed, who's just a pure cinnamon roll. And it's actually, I guess there's a couple of them that are cinnamon rolls, but they all have like their issues. And it's wonderful.
One of my favorite lines from the entire series. Oh shoot, I don't know if you've gotten to it. I guess I shouldn't quote it.
No. You must. He's only on season 2. Do not spoil this for him. I'm trying my best not to spoil it, because I genuinely rewatched the first 3 seasons a couple times in a row because it was just so, I was so satisfied with it.
I also binged all of Parks and Rec lately too.
That's good after season 1.
That's one that I'll go back to, and yeah, like Taka was saying, I'll start somewhere in the middle of season 2 or 3 usually.
Season 2. You know what the first episode it is to watch in season 2? Once they introduce Ben and Chris, I'm like, okay, the cast is together now. I think you could jump in on Parks and Recreation on one episode.
Which one?
That is Ron's ex-wife. The first one.
Tammy
that's
so
one.
good.
The first Tammy
episode is phenomenal.
The first Tammy episode, and that is the first one where she shows up, and that episode is so fucking hilarious. But you almost want to watch a couple episodes before it to see Ron as a character before that episode, because that his entire character gets flipped on its head.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so damn funny.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec and Community both do like something that I really enjoy, but I think Community does it a little bit better. They have things that happen, but then like you'll just notice the after effects of it in the background.
Yep.
Like in Community, they'll do like something big one episode, and all of a sudden, like the school's flag has changed, or now they have a mascot, or
they're fucking human.
Human.
Yeah, the human being.
It's so terrifying. I love it.
I fucking love it.
By the way, Pseudonym 92 with 1,000 bits asking, have you guys kept up with the final season of Clone Wars?
I absolutely have.
I have not.
That's why we aren't talking about it yet, because nobody else here has watched it.
Once the last one's uploaded, I will binge it, Nick.
Only, I'll say this. Only the last 2 episodes have really mattered.
Well, are the other ones fun?
The other ones are okay.
I have to ask
the
you
other
a
ones
question.
are okay, but the last 2 episodes are actually really cool.
I'm going to ask you, are there any episodes that are like the one where Mace Windu and Jar Jar Binks go and kill the Night Sister Queen?
Kind of. I mean, like...
No, that was the worst episode of the show.
Here's the thing. The first... I'll call it like the first, like, you know how Clone Wars basically does like 3 to 4 episodes mini arcs and then they move on to the next story.
Do an hour
the first one feels like a Saturday morning cartoon where they introduce like a bunch of clones with genetic defects.
Okay.
Called The Bad Batch, and it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon because nothing matters. But it's kind of interesting. I don't know. It didn't sell me on it. It didn't sell me on, we needed to bring it back for this. But these last 2 episodes that have been going, I'm like, okay, here's the purpose for this season.
Okay, then that's something, when I sit down and binge it, I think it's going to be a solid binge, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh, and real fast, before we go past, one last note about Community that you'll find interesting. Someone reminded me in the chat. I looked this up a long time ago. Leonard's actor. Guess what movie he was in back in the 40s?
I'll just wait for you to answer because I'm assuming that's rhetorical.
Bridge over the River Kwai.
Huh.
He was one of the guys in that. Yeah. Leonard was in that.
Fun fact, Bruce Campbell's favorite movie.
One of my dad's favorite movies, too.
You and your dad have good taste in movies. As far as video games, I'll play some long-form stuff. I mean, hell, I streamed all of FF7 and all of RE3, but I've actually been picking up like a couple of indie games just to try out. There was one I was trying out. It's kind of like the Anti-Darkest Dungeon. It's like you're playing as this undead lord bringing up this army of undead and trying to make it out of the dungeon to the surface to take over the world.
What game is this called? Is it new? It's new though.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was called. It begins with an I. God, the name's not coming to me, and I don't have Steam booted up. Iratus.
IRO.
IRATUS.
Oh,
yeah,
I did see it. I did see that. I picked that up.
It is Darkest Dungeon, but from the other point of view.
Oh, okay, because I picked that up actually. I bought that.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. I played it on Steam. I also finally tried Ape Out, which is really fun.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I've been playing a bunch of like little things every now and again, but for the most part, most of my gaming is done on stream. So,
next question.
While we're on Steam, real fast, one quick note here. Real fast. For those who are on Steam, for those who don't have any money for games right now, if anyone's been ever interested in trying out Total War, they are giving Total War Shogun 2 away for free right now.
Which is my favorite Shogun or Total War game. Shogun 2 is
really, it's probably the best. The first rendition of Total War was and will be. But
to date myself a bit, I got that game as a reward for myself for finishing the Rescue Yukina abridged for Yu Yu Hakusho.
There you go, and that is free, 100% off. So you just go slap it onto your clap it onto your list, guys. You just go get it.
Slap it on.
It's really fun. It's a really fun one.
All right.
Moving on to the next question. Albert from Patreon asks, any plans for another D&D campaign anytime soon? Almost finished rewatching the entire campaign.
Damn.
Thank you so much for your viewership, by the way. But as far as TFS at the table goes, I'm currently in production of the actual game we will be playing. It's a D6 system. I did a test game of it, which you can find over on my personal gaming channel. The test session, Taka, you were a part of it, so you can speak to it. I thought it went really well. You're not speaking to it?
Oh,
cool.
no. I didn't want to interrupt you when you're talking about your show. The game you did. Yeah, it was fun. It was interesting. I've not played a D6 system that much, so I don't have a basis on it, but I really enjoyed what we were able to get away with in that, which was a lot of explosions.
Yeah, the idea is more on the storytelling side rather than on the these are the combat mechanics and you need to know, like, roll this for that. It's basically you roll 2 d6s and you add 1 stat to it and you get your result, whether you succeed, fail, or get kind of somewhere like a gray area in between. For those that have played what was it, Apocalypse World, it's
Powered by the Apocalypse?
Powered by the Apocalypse. It's based off of that system. But it'll be done hopefully fairly soon. I'm looking to hopefully have a full playable version done by June. There's going to be a few more play tests in the interim. But if you're looking for more D&D, Taka, this would be a good time as any to plug your new Twitch channel.
Yeah, that's right. The Unexpectables is off my channel at long last. It's now over on twitch.tv/The Unexpectables, where we still have The Unexpectables every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock PST. But now on Saturdays at 7 o'clock PST, my sister has been concocting and creating a brand new campaign in a brand new world, and it's about playing magic police officers in a what-if society in the future. And the players are, of course, Distortion Devil, Edward Bosco, the wonderful baritonely bassy Arkhov, and Miss Sarah Ann Williams, a.k.a. Abridged Tifa.
Nice.
Yeah.
And over on my channel, if you're looking for more D&Ds on Mondays, we do a little show called Roll With Me. Taka, you're a part of that as Asmo the Snake Man. We also have Connor, Distortion Devil, over there. He plays...
He's more D&D than man now.
He's very D&D. Like, that boy plays so much D&D.
He left out his pant leg one time. It was just a series of dice, actually, up his left leg. I'm like, wow, it's happening. He's slowly changing.
One of my old buddies, Shadow Dancer Bob, plays the party wizard. And recently joining us in our most recent session, my friend Caitlin Elizabeth, who is now basically your shadow and tormenting you.
Big sigh.
So yeah, if you're looking for more D&D online, there's plenty to go through. But the next TFS at the Table campaign will hopefully be good to go as soon as we're allowed back to the office to do things when everything in life gets back to the way it was. Potentially 2022. You never know.
No.
Yeah, either way. So yeah, there's plenty of D&D out there if you're looking for TFS flavored D&D. But the next campaign will be a bit of time, a bit until we can get back in there. At least in its old format. I'll say that much. Moving on, General Vash on Twitter asks, at what point does an homage become plagiarism?
That's actually really difficult because sometimes you can make an homage to something, but if it plays completely straight and nobody can tell that it is an homage, then did you just rip the joke off, or the visual symbolism or whatever?
Yeah, because it's there is obviously like a gradient there. There's the line shifts depending on the situation it's delivered. I feel like because your thoughts?
I can speak to this. I really like this. I really want to speak to this because you guys have worked with me for over 10 years. I like to think of things we like and things that inspire us creatively or something that really resonates strongly with us. We will just remember almost like a piece of Lego we throw into our bucket, metaphorically, so to speak. One of my favorite things in the G.I. Joe PSAs. Remember G.I. Joe PSAs?
Oh, hell yeah.
No, me. Who wants a bottom massage? Like, you do any of those, you know what you're referencing.
Fensler Films!
Exactly. You do those, you know what you're referencing. There's one of those that I've referenced that very few people have caught. When Alucard falls out of the building in the episode 10 of Hellsing Ultimate Abridged. Shit!
Oh, yeah.
That's one of them. And like that's
okay,
where
that's where you get.
So
when the reference isn't the centerpiece of the joke, but just kind of an accent.
Yes. When it is an extra little dash on the side of the plate, so to speak. Like, Alucard could have said anything there, but I decided to, in that moment, that reference there adds to the scene. Because it's fun, it's a great delivery, and I want to whole hog rip it off. Because I always wanted to do that. Because I loved those. I used to watch those all the time religiously, and that one always made me laugh. Because it was a 7-second joke. It was the guy just fell, and he just did a VO right past the microphone, and it's just such a simple premise. That's a perfect example because I feel like I like to think that I'll just put little like references to the way things are delivered. For example, one of the things in Archer I love, which is the yup. I love the yup. I love that. I love when they say yup. Now, other places have done it like that before. They did it a lot, and they abused it a little bit, but that's fine. That's Archer.
Archer always is trying to walk that fine line of overdoing its running jokes and running gags. And sometimes it acknowledges that, and then almost doubles down from time to time.
Are we not doing phrasing?
Yeah. Also, Archer has just maybe too much influence to my writing.
A little bit, but I feel like influencing your writing isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's something that kind of tacked on to your comedy sensibilities. Yeah. And you embrace that because it's something that you realize that you find very funny, and you allow that to flavor your own comedy.
It definitely inspired me to change how I was writing to match something that I like. You know what? It was an inspiration, a great inspiration for me because I love conversational dialogue, and Archer is kind of the master of that in a couple of ways.
One thing, if you go back and rewatch DBZA, you'll notice that the audio transition is like the using audio. Yeah.
Yeah. A J-cut is where a piece of dialogue will happen on screen, and a separate piece of dialogue will happen in another scene off screen that seems to continue the conversation, but is actually part of another conversation that will then continue when the scene changes.
Which is very much a Archer, like, not necessarily trademark, like they didn't coin it, but it is definitely an Archer thing, an influence.
He uses that a lot for his scene transitions, and I like it. I think
Dragon Prince in 5 minutes, I think,
is nothing. Yeah. Literally the entire joke with that whole episode was every single scene had a J-cut to end it.
That was the joke? Oh man, I thought you were just abusing it.
If somebody once said,
you can call it a joke now, and it doesn't seem forced.
Well, somebody once said that Dragon Prince in 5.5 minutes is a masterclass in how to use the J-Kite. And that was it. I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can do an entire episode of this where literally every single scene ends with a J-Cut. And yeah.
Oh, there you go. That was if anything, that was a free writing exercise for you.
Hey, most of these are.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I guess any published work is an exercise in writing.
I want to see. You know what? I want to see what a project looks like when somebody's like, "Oh no, there was no experimentation done in this. This was literally everything that I have learned up until this point, just put to use."
I'm pretty sure that's most of the last few seasons of The Simpsons.
Oh.
Oh. I'm just kidding. I haven't watched The Simpsons in years.
It's probably actually close to the family.
The animation's gotten better.
I'm sure it has.
It kind of has.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. The technology has gotten better, therefore animation probably got better. Moving on, from Tyler Crone over on Patreon, they ask, what is your favorite non-anime franchise? By the way, even if you put anime on that list, it's not close for me.
Oh, yeah. Favorite non-anime franchise?
Mine's pretty easy. Star Wars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Warhammer.
Yeah.
I don't count wrestling. That's something different. But Warhammer.
It has its own canon though.
It's true. I mean, Warhammer.
I'm gonna touch back on that in a second.
It's really let's drive those views as low as they can get, Nick, to talk about wrestling.
I don't know. I feel like we have some pretty good crossover with like people that enjoy wrestling. DBZ and wrestling kind of like they're together.
Yes, they are.
You know what? I'm actually having a bit of trouble trying to pick something for myself. Mostly because when it comes to franchises, it's difficult for me to kind of say like, oh, this is my favorite franchise.
Yeah, I get a lot of like, sometimes I get questions as to like, you know, Star Wars kind of at this point has a lot more misses than hits when it comes to like what's out there.
Doesn't that suck?
It does.
It sucks.
But it's not so much. It's not so much that I love like all of the movies like for everything. I love the world. I love the universe.
That's why the Mandalorian was just like mainlining that. It's like
yeah. It's the lore. It's everything that you get into. It's I know it's all pulpy, just hero's journey drama, but I fucking love that. It was part of my childhood, and it kind of grew with me, and it's just something that's a big part of my nerddom.
I'll say this. The Mandalorian hit on one note because my dad asked me when I came up here, so when's the next Mandalorian coming? He couldn't actually say it. Mandalorian coming up. My dad loved it. He loved it.
When's the more baby Yoda?
When more Yoda? When more Yoda, baby?
I will say, if Mass Effect 3 hadn't totally blown all of it, I was actually on my way to becoming whatever a fucking Trekkie is for Mass Effect.
Affecty.
No, they're an ass. That's what they're called, actually.
Yeah.
Mass asses.
I loved Mass Effect to an extent that actually, like, I was ready to fucking just fall into that universe and start doing something I literally would never do for any other franchise, which is read its spin-off books, which apparently were awful, so I dodged a bullet there.
Luckily, Star Wars has some really good books.
Yes.
Then again, you have like a billion writers out there, so.
Yeah. I loved the universe that Mass Effect 1 created. I was a little bit frustrated with how they kind of made everything feel less special in 2, and then 3 was like, well, fuck this shit.
I enjoyed Mass Effect 1. I loved Mass Effect 2.
If you love Mass Effect 2, then I believe that you kind of value the gameplay over the world building and setting, which is fine. That's not a critique or anything.
I guess I just wasn't turned. Okay, here's a question then. What turned you off about the world building into that they that they did so right in the first one? Because whatever you are seeing is something that I just didn't notice, because I actually enjoyed the way they built on the world.
Oh yeah, and well, part of it was the way that they used language. It felt like as they went on, more of the different species just talked like each other. Whereas I feel like in the first one, it definitely felt like there was this weird barrier between different species, the way they talked, the way they acted.
Statement: they never changed the L core.
They never changed the L core. There were a lot of scenes where the music between 1 and 2 goes for more of this grunge rock, or not grunge rock, but it definitely adds more edge to it. Whereas in the first one, there's this kind of feeling of, exploration and discovery, and you feel like you're being introduced to this world. But the second one's like, yeah, but it's all grit and grime, and I don't know.
So perhaps the first one felt more Star Trek The Next Generation. The second one felt more like Abrams' Star Trek.
Hey,
Yeah, actually, that is absolutely it.
One moment, I actually have to step away and grab something.
That's
really
fine.
Quick. Okay.
Go do your thing, buddy. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good comparison. You go from fucking Picard to Chris Pine as Kirk, and that is a good comparison. I loved the exploration of the universe, and even with its fucking Shakespearean, oh god, what was the villain from the first game with the Reapers?
That was, the Reapers, but it was Saris or Sarin.
Yeah, I loved everything about the first one, and then in 2 and 3, it just kind of like. It became all about the Reapers and all about this galaxy-wide threat. It became all about, these very human problems throughout all of its different characters. It felt like they were desperately trying to make everything feel more relatable. But by doing that, I feel like it was losing a lot of what made it kind of unique and interesting. And that gave it wider appeal. A lot of people look at 2 and think, oh, this is more accessible. Where for me, I was like, but that's way less interesting.
I'll admit that I really enjoyed the combat system in 2. I felt it played better than the first one.
Oh yes, I'm not gonna say that 2 doesn't play better than 1.
Yeah, like way better. And I would even say that 3 probably plays a little bit better than 2, but not enough to excuse. Everybody bitches about the ending, but at what point did you fall off with 3?
I fell off with 3. About near the ending, actually, because I realized that at that point it's like, hey, look, I'm not saying that I need a good option every time. I'm not saying that I need no, this is obviously the right choice that I need to make. But if you're going to literally give me 3 choices and all of them are flawed, and none of
your other choices mattered either.
Yeah. It's like, at the end of the day, you had all these games with all these choices, but now you're down to, RGB, and fucking choose any of these, and no matter what, you're out. And it's like, well, then what was the point? Like, I just felt like there was more that they could have done, more they could have given us. Also, the ending just sort of sucks. The story sucks.
Yeah,
That part of the story, it's not even just like you're left with 3 choices. That part of the story sucks.
The whole thing felt oddly rushed is the thing. The part where we're talking about Mass Effect 3 right now.
I want to jump in when you get a chance.
All right. Yeah. The part where I initially fell off without even really realizing it, but in hindsight, it's where I started to kind of see the cracks, was actually pretty much in the beginning, where it's like, hey, remember all that preparation we've been doing and warning people? By the way, the Reapers made it past everything!
Yeah, also
here they are!
Yeah.
They're here, and you gotta deal with them now. Welcome to the 3rd act, bye! Say goodbye to everything. Also, everything else you did, here is your percentage meter for how prepared you are because of those things. Bye!
What is really interesting is the reason why this happened, based on everything that has been revealed from the production or everything. It started at the end of episode 2. When 2 was done being written and was being made, there was an executive decision to change the final boss of Mass Effect 2. Originally, it was not, as in Mass Effect 2, the giant googly-eyed skeleton face that you fight.
You don't fight a giant Terminator?
Originally, it was supposed to be a Reaper fetus in a womb, essentially.
Oh, God.
So you were essentially going to kill something in its infancy before it's even technically born. Yes, that's how, because these things are living machines, right? So they're being born kind of like humans in that regard. So this is what you had to do. So they changed that to a googly-eyed googly-eyed skeleton. And hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
And the head writer quit when they did that to his story. And they lost their head writer for the Mass Effect series, and that's why 3 is what it is.
I also
You saying that made me actually, like, I didn't remember what the final boss for 2 was for a very long time.
I could never forget.
It's because it was so stupid. It was such a
Yeah.
stupid boss fight. It looked it looked ridiculous.
Also, there was another thing. They were originally building a story around dark matter. That was actually a big point that they were leading up to.
Oh, dark matter?
Yes, there was a whole dark matter storyline that was being worked on, and they fucking threw it out the window for Talking Child.
Yeah, no, they lost their lead writer. He left.
Yeah, fucking Reaper Child comes out. Fucking Reaper Child, I hate that little piece of shit.
Yeah,
I cannot believe that I was actually into the fucking conspiracy theory of the indoctrination. The indoctrination theory was way better than the ending of the actual game, and that makes me angry because honestly, and I'm gonna sound like a shithead for saying this, 90% of the theories fans come up with are garbage. And yet, that one was remarkably better than anything in that third act.
Would you care to explain the indoctrination theory for those that might not know, present company included?
Yes.
The indoctrination theory actually plays on the fact that the Reapers slowly and insidiously infect hosts. And if you play throughout the game, you see the exact same signs of indoctrination in Shepard as they talk about in all of the documents about indoctrination. It was supposed to be the indoctrination theory posited that the ending that you see is not the actual ending, and that they were going to release DLC later that actually reveals what happened. Like he was going to break through indoctrination. It was supposed to, like, you know, and that was the whole theory. I was holding on to that for dear life because I was so disappointed in that ending. I was like, oh my god, I will wait another year if that's the case. And it wasn't.
But Scott, it's okay. You got to have Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, let's not talk about that garbage fire.
I played that for like an hour, and like while the run and gun gameplay was okay, my god, everything it was wrong.
Looked and sounded and felt bad.
It was.
Let's see if we can get one or two more questions out. I feel like
I'll work towards that now that I'm trying to drown Andromeda out of my head.
Yup.
Let's try to drown that out of our head with this question from Robrick, which was what is the most intense memory you had together? Intense.
Wait, like.
Oh man.
That can mean whatever. That can mean whatever you want with whatever you're comfortable to share.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the three of us. Most intense.
Intense is the interesting adjective to use, right? It's an interesting one.
I have one.
All right, go for it, Nick. I don't know how to.
This was after Chaoticon when you, myself, and Gon, and you I'm using as the plural.
Oh no.
Oh
we're
boy. Oh,
visiting I'm going there. We're visiting my family's place down in Florida.
Lani.
This was when we were talking about doing a whole bunch of other like different projects and stuff, and the potential to end DBZA at Frieza.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to focus
the end of Frieza, very specifically.
At the end of Frieza, after Namek. Way Toriyama himself wanted.
No.
I know that's fake, but I'm playing the meme. Anyway,
Toriyama truly wanted to end
as
Dragon
Toriyama
Ball
intended,
when he was 14.
Yes, we had a massive fallout argument one of those nights.
Yeah, that was a rough conversation.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
I remember storming out. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You threw a pillow.
I
threw a pillow, man.
I wasn't
In my grandma's place.
I was pissed.
And I think I was halfway drunk.
No, you were.
I was making margaritas and pina coladas, so we were probably somewhere along there.
We can't talk too much about it because I don't want to like besmirch people's opinions in that meeting, because in the end it just came down to a personal opinion.
Oh yeah, no, and we got heated because at the time we were feeling the heat. Like, to be honest, we were feeling the heat. Like, it was like our audience and our expectations and everything, and even the idea of like changing course or any of that, it freaked us out. We were still trying to figure out what we wanted to do.
And this was also in the heights of, like, you know, different companies still really ripping at our shit, like trying to shut us down and shit.
Yeah.
And we were like thinking, what, right? We were thinking, I mean, it has now. For the most part. So we were like really talking about, okay, but like, you know, how do we want to move forward from here? Because we're talking about at this point, because a lot of us were still working jobs outside of what we were doing at TFS, because we weren't monetizing anything except for the shirts at that point.
We couldn't.
And yeah, exactly. And so there was a question of like, okay, so either we, you know, make serious about this, start writing some real stuff and start making our own stuff. But that would mean that we'd have to actually buckle down and focus on that, like focus our efforts on that. And that turned into a huge hullabaloo. And obviously the people listening know how it ended. It ended by us delaying that for another decade.
Not decade, what?
Almost a decade. Yeah, it was almost 10 years. It's been a long time.
No, that was 7 years ago. That wasn't 10 years ago.
That's almost a decade if you round up by my calculations.
Well, Nick,
time is an illusion created by gravity.
If there's 51 people, if we round up to it, there's about 100 people. Come on, bastard.
If we're going to the nearest 100, sure. I was going to the nearest 10.
So that's not rounding. Thank
Everyone in
you,
chat's super
Warthunot.
mad at you now.
That is super rounding. You're rounding up.
Nick,
you're rounding to the nearest 10. That is the phrase.
Nick, you're not rounding. You're being a square.
I am going to say that I'm right, and you can tell me what your most intense memory is.
This right now, you in complete denial about how bad you are at rounding. This is
good. I'm glad we're getting
intense
somewhere.
Memory. That was a pretty intense memory. It really was. I can't deny that. I think that was because we'd had discussions like that before, but never in person. Never in person.
Yeah.
That was what made it different. We could see each other's faces. Because back in the day, guys, we were using Skype to work.
Remember, Skype? It still exists.
I mean,
Yeah, and I haven't opened it in literally months.
First time we ever went to a convention together will always stand out as one of the stronger ones.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yomicon, the first one we ever went to.
That's a good kind of intense. I like this.
That's a good kind of intense. I remember flying there and I was scared because I was still stage shy. I was so shy from actually being seen and stuff like that. And when I was flying there, I realized if I didn't get over that shit, I was gonna have a bad time. And I ended up having a good time, regardless of some things that happened during that weekend that you guys may remember. But
yeah, you were rooming with me, so I recall.
Yeah. $600 phone bill at the end of that one. But one of the things about that was really powerful was being able to see everybody, almost everybody in the team for the first time ever in person. Being able to hug them and hold them because we all made something that we were truly proud of together. Something that resonated with people, regardless if people liked it or not. It found an audience and people liked it, and people wanted us to make more because it made them laugh, and that made my soul sing because I love that. I love putting a smile on people's faces and shit like that. It's one of my favorite things to do. It really feels satisfying because I feel like it's the one thing I'm really good at doing, unlike everything else. Being able to meet Megami, Lawrence, Nick, Scott was there, Little Karibo. Fucking meeting Martin for the first time in person.
Yeah.
Scott, I'm just giving you shit because you're here, by the way.
I think he's racking his brain thinking of an intense
Oh, no,
memory.
I have one. I have mine.
Oh, he has one.
And he, and I remember meeting Martin, giving him a hug, and I realized that, I remember when we crashed his panel.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when we crashed his panel, and it was a lot of fun. And honestly, at the same time, too, we also got to meet, and I know this, we got to meet Angry Joe, Linkara, and yes, at the time, the Nostalgia Critic as well, right when he was coming out. Right when he was just getting started. Before all the everything.
Trauma.
Yeah. But we got to meet all those people.
I personally have never had a bad interaction with Doug. He's a nice guy.
I've also never had a bad interaction with Doug or Rob. The problems with all their stuff.
That's
they have in-house drama, it's none of our business necessarily.
Yeah.
But being able to meet a bunch of people who all had kind of started at the same time, though, and we all got to sit at a table and play the Inglourious Bastards card game together.
Oh, that was so good.
I will always remember that feeling because in that moment, I'm looking at all these people I respect, and I can't believe that I get to sit at their table.
I remember Linkara's reaction because he had like. So the game from Inglourious Bastards, I don't know the actual name of the game, is you have like a name on a card and you place it on your forehead, and people have to, you have to basically do like around the table, everybody asks a question like, okay, am I would I do this, or have I been known for this, or something like that, to try to decipher who you are. And Linkara's card was God.
Yes, and it was
So
so
all
good.
of the questions were very much like, he's like, am I fictional? And everybody's like,
It was such a good one.
Everyone made the same sound effect. It was kind of like everyone went,
It was eventually and he ended up winning that round by just eventually going, am I God? Yes!
Oh,
Yep.
okay. It threw it off. Oh, okay.
It was pretty funny.
Mine is watching the credits for 60 roll on stream. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be able to forget that moment. Having and watching that happen and seeing, because it, at the time I still wanted to do Boo, and I've said this many times before, and it only holds truer now that we've finally made our decision and stuck with it. That was the end for DBZA for me. That was my ending. Watching that happen, I was like, you know what? That's it. I did what I wanted to do. I set out what I wanted to do. I wrote a love letter. I made the jokes. I saw it through to the end. That was what I wanted and what I needed. And watching, the credits play and seeing all the responses from people, nothing compares to that.
And intense memories I could possibly, we swung the gamut there in intensity. I love it. I can't think of a better way to close out than that. That's a big one right there. So thank you all for joining us for the Talkcast Podshow. We hope you enjoyed listening on whatever platform you happen to be listening to us on, be it iHeartRadio or any of your. Yeah, it's there. It's there. It's on. It's on podcasting thingies like Google Play and Apple and iHeartRadio and stuff like that, over on YouTube, and of course all the wonderful people who have joined us live here on Twitch who get to experience the after show as soon as I'm done with this outro. But thank you guys for joining me here.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, we'll see you guys next time on the Talkcast Podshow. Later, everybody.